I am anti-social media. Perhaps that shouldn't come as much of a surprise considering I made a video saying that we should all be bored more often. And also because a lot of people are anti-social media these days. It's kind of a fashionable opinion. But I think the reason I'm anti-social media is different from most people's reasons. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to hate social media, and I won't cover them here, but things like, people post the best of themselves, you feel bad scrolling through your feed. There's these filter bubbles where you get caught up in your own communities. There is all the time that we're wasting on it, when really we should be doing more productive things. Yeah, all of those are great reasons to be anti-social media, but for me, the core of my problem with it comes down to the meta issues with social media. Ostensibly, social media is meant to be a place where you share things about your life, pictures and words and whatever, that tell your friends what's going on with you, that share these things with your families. And in theory, this should all bring us closer together and improve our social lives, hence the social in social media. But I feel like what ends up happening is kind of the opposite. And that's because of the systems that exist around this sharing. So obviously there's, like systems and comment systems, and our brains are sort of wired to get a dopamine hit from that positive social feedback. So in a way, these platforms are sort of quantifying this thing that in the past has not been able to be measured, but now we can measure popularity and likes and comments and all that sort of stuff. And so people will really focus on achieving that. It changes the focus from maybe sharing the things about your life to sharing things that get the most likes. Or it's about creating an impression of yourself for the world. So let me give you a concrete example. I mean, sometimes I see things that my friends post that are kind of intimate moments of their lives with them and their partner. And in a way, that's wonderful, and I love that they have wonderful, loving relationships. But the meta level is saying, why are you posting this on social media? And perhaps, why did you set the camera up there to film you? Clearly this is sort of a fun, spontaneous moment, except I know it's not spontaneous because of the fact that it's here on social media, posted in this particular way. That is the thing that really gets me. It's the idea that the motivations for what we post are not just the sort of naive, we're just sharing our lives. It's like everything that people post has a real reason for them. And it's thinking about those reasons that just drive me nuts when I look at social media. And more, social media feels like this giant void into which people yell. Like it's devolving into some sort of narcissistic playground where you only rise to the top if that's what you're doing. And so it just encourages more and more of that behavior. So rather than making us more social, it's making us less social, more focused on what we're doing in ourselves and more focused on always taking that picture or filming that thing so that we can share it with people. So I feel like in a way it's taking away from our lives. Years ago, this economist, Daniel Kahneman, talked about the tyranny of the remembering self. He was basically saying that, the way we think of our lives is, by thinking back on it, by remembering what's happened to us. And so when we go on holidays, we often have to take that picture, get that sunset and stuff. This was in the days before social media. So we just had this tyranny of the remembering self. And Kahneman's point was later on, you're almost never going to look at those pictures again. And yet you spend so much of your time when you're actually on vacation and could be enjoying yourself. You spend so much time thinking ahead and doing work for this self that will exist in the future, even if that future self is never even really going to use the materials that you've just, spent a lot of time creating for them. And now I feel like there's a worse tyranny, the tyranny of social media, where at all times a lot of us have to be thinking about what makes a good picture, what makes a good video, and maybe stopping the real life spontaneity in order to set up the things that we gram for. And for me, looking at all these things, it just feels inauthentic. And as I say, I can't escape the meta level of reasoning when I look at other people's feeds about what was the motivation for taking this picture or posting this picture or captioning it in this way and all that sort of stuff. And for those reasons, I basically stopped using Facebook and barely use Twitter, and my use of Instagram has dropped way down. When I see it becoming this really crowded space where everyone's shouting for attention, it makes me not want to play that game, because it's not a game I want to play. It's not a game I'm interested in winning. YouTube, on the other hand, if I can say something nice about the platform that I'm on, I feel like it's better than other social media in that there's no pretense to me simply sharing my everyday life. It's, I think it's a bit more self-aware, and you can discuss the fact that the camera is here and obviously why I'm doing this and sharing my views or educational content on the main channel. It's because those are the things that I like doing, and I feel like on YouTube there's more time, there's more nuance, so we can actually get to issues and not just have those visuals in the constant scroll feed. So anyway, that is my thought on social media, that there's this sort of ironic idea that a technology that seems like it should bring us closer together and improve our social lives instead makes us more focused on ourselves and more focused on capturing our moments so that we can share them, so that we can achieve some sort of status points, than actually focus on experiencing and enjoying our lives. So that's why I think social media is actually kind of antisocial. But I would be interested to hear what you think. Have you gone through a similar experience where you've stopped using one or more social media, and what's your favorite, and how do you feel about the whole YouTube situation? Maybe, if you feel like commenting that, why not? But I'll be in the comments, and probably back over the main channel very soon.